Hello everyone, and welcome to Officially Speaking. I'm your host, Kevin Starr. During each show, we sit down with one of our local elected officials to get the latest with your city government. And today, we're joined by Mayor Kevin Burns. Mayor, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kevin.
As we turn the calendar to 2020, let's actually start the show by taking a look back and see where does Geneva stand after completing a calendar year.
The best way to answer that question is Geneva stands strong financially. I think we are very well positioned to address and to receive and to discuss and deliberate lots of issues that are percolating in Geneva, whether that be development and redevelopment, whether that be new opportunities for retail environment, whether it be the reconstruction of Route 38 from Route 25 all the way east, a number of things. But the overarching success of 2019 cannot be understated with respect to our fidelity to the budget and our commitment to investing our resources in a responsible and effective way. I mean, you know as well as anybody, and I think the majority of the community knows too, that just a short while ago, we went from an 8% of your tax dollars were benefiting the city to currently 6.5%. So that, while is an impressive figure, we always know there's room for improvement, but most importantly, I think the citizens want very much to know that wherever we invest our money, that investment is worthwhile and there's a payback. So that's the overarching principle that we focus on. Certainly I focus on as mayor.
One area that you've been very passionate about is that of environmental stewardship. Why has this topic become so important to you?
Well, it's important to me for a number of reasons. I think principle among them is that I truly believe that we are only on this earth for a brief time and we rent the space that we have. So if I can do whatever I can do, no matter how small, to improve conditions for my neighbors, my friends, and the next generation, then I'm going to do that. I have the honor of serving as the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus Environment and Energy Committee Chair. I work with 128 other cities, 3 other counties, representing 6 million people who are focusing their energies, their efforts, their best practices on enhancing sustainability in their respective communities and in the region. And when you look at the global impact, I'm proud to say that the Chicago region is doing their very best to participate in that issue from a micro level and a macro level, so that when people come and question the city of Geneva, for example, our professional staff, we can actually list, here's what we're doing to enhance our own sustainability, and here's what we're doing to address the general and the perhaps global climate issues. So it is important.
And we have a full list that we've just added to our city website that people can check out online.
Absolutely.
As we move forward, the city just recently received 2 Projects of the Year from the American Public Works Association Fox Valley branch. Can you share with our audience what those awards were for?
Well, the first award was for the reconstruction, at last minute, if you will, of the bridge and the culvert on South Street, literally at the corner of South and Burgess. We discovered almost by accident that the bridge had been failing. So we closed the street, we re-engineered, reconstructed, and replaced that bridge in such a way that it'll be good for generations to come. Secondly was the extraordinary effort by our team at the wastewater treatment plant to enhance not only its operations, but tying into the previous question, what a lot of people don't know is that with that redevelopment of the wastewater treatment plant, we are saving the citizens of Geneva nearly $200,000 a year in energy. You also know that while Geneva receives its water from deep and shallow wells, and we mix it, and from our drinking water facility, we also release water into the Fox River as part of our overall operations. But that releasing is done in such a way that we are not only up to snuff with respect to IEPA and EPA standards, but we also are being heralded as a community that's doing it right. So it's an extraordinarily important process. It doesn't necessarily get all the attention in the news like some others do, but it's critical in terms of our sustainability and our overall operations. So the kudos go to our friends Dan Dobnik and Bob Van Gescam and their team, who did an extraordinary job.
As we turn our attention to 2020, the state of Illinois now allows for the sale of adult use recreational cannabis. And many people are asking, how does this impact Geneva?
There's a couple ways to answer that question. The first answer is, it would have impacted Geneva far greater had not Geneva taken the time through its Planning and Zoning Commission and through its council to appropriately zone the elements within that law. And as you know, Kev, and most people tuning in probably know, those elements include medical, infusing, transportation, growing, and of course, recreational use via dispensary. The city of Geneva could very well have said, we're not going to talk about this, we're not going to address this through any sort of regulatory process. And the city of Geneva would have been, quote, all in, with no parameters whatsoever. So the council in August had a policy discussion to determine whether or not there was interest from the council to forward to the Plan Commission a recommendation to consider the entirety of the law and how it would impact Geneva and whether we should participate in those regulatory processes. The Plan Commission, through their great work, hosted multiple meetings, many, many hours, hearing from citizens and others, and chose to regulate it in a certain fashion. Virtually 95% of what was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission was adopted by the council as well, except for a barrier that the Planning and Zoning Commission put in. And number two, the council chose to also zone recreational use through dispensary. Everyone tuning in should know that I broke the tie at the council. And I've been asked multiple times, why did you vote to, quote, allow marijuana? The answer is, I didn't vote to allow marijuana. I voted to allow those who have an interest in opening a business related to cannabis the opportunity to return to the city and ask permission through a public hearing process to open a business. And for those who aren't aware of the public hearing process and the Planning and Zoning Commission process, you have to meet 9 special use standards in order to be granted that authority. So for those who perhaps are upset that they didn't have a chance to opine during the Council and Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, that opportunity still exists. So when and if someone says to the leadership in the city, I want to open a craft grower facility, we will host the public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. They'll have to meet the 9 standards. Anyone and everyone in Geneva is allowed to participate in that public hearing. In fact, even folks from outside Geneva can participate in that public hearing. And the same applies to any of those other elements I discussed earlier. The number one challenge that I hear, the number one issue that I hear regularly is, I'm not opposed to transporting, I'm not opposed to infusing, I'm not opposed to growing, I'm not opposed to the medical, I'm just opposed to the adult use via dispensary. You have the opportunity to express your opinion still. The city of Geneva has not said, welcome cannabis businesses. All we have said through the council decision on December 9th was, we will allow those interested to come to the city and host another opportunity to explain why they, the applicant, feel it's important and beneficial for the community to host such a business. And that's another opportunity for the community to participate and deliberate. So I respect the differing opinions, but I also believe it's the proper way to go.
As we transition to another question, a big project on the horizon is Union Pacific's third main rail going through Geneva. What can residents expect with this type of project? In a nutshell, it's going to be some disruption and some discomfort and perhaps some frustration as well. For those of tuning in aren't aware, this has been a 10-year plus project. We are finally now on the foothills of this happening. So this mountain of change with respect to construction going along the south route of our tracks in town are theoretically going to begin this fall. With that, you're going to see disruption in parking at the train station. You're going to see disruption in travel from the east to the west side along the tracks, whether it be on Western Avenue or Route 31. Overall, however, you're going to see a mitigation of that disruption based on the construction timeline. When it's all said and done, the hope is from our friends at the UP and Metra that trains will be able to move more consistently and more evenly and with fewer disruptions throughout our community and other communities. It's also very, very important to underscore that Geneva is the last community on the West Line to have the third track installed. So while we are the last, we've learned a great deal from other communities who have experienced this.
and we're prepared to hopefully make it as minimally disruptive as possible.
Mayor, what are some of the other issues as we look towards 2020 that people can expect coming before the City Council?
2020 is going to be ripe with development and redevelopment opportunities that are already starting to see the light of day with respect to commentary with staff by developers. This council, this Planning and Zoning Commission, and this community is going to have an exciting 2020 with respect to development of some of the lands that have sat fallow for years, some new opportunities both east and west of the river, some opportunities south part of our community as well. That's not going to change Geneva, but I believe is going to potentially enhance the product we have here. With that, each and every development, redevelopment opportunity that comes along, we invite, we implore, and we hope that the community will participate in this process. More than just commentary on Facebook, more than just an email or a text or a tweet, but actually join us in that process so that when and if these projects are approved, they're approved knowing that the majority of the community, as best it could, participated in developing a project that we can all be proud of.
And residents can stay in tune with the development
Absolutely.
scene on the city's website by clicking the Notify Me button and selecting the Development Projects map.
Right, the Notify Me button is the most important button on the city's website. It's on the homepage. You click on that button and we provide you with information relative to every topic that's coming on every agenda item. So if you're interested in the council, you're notified of the council agendas. You want to discuss or you want to know about what's happening before the Planning and Zoning Commission? The same. The Historic Preservation Commission? The same. Strategic Plan Advisory Committee? The same. There is no reason, respectfully, for anyone in Geneva to be curious as to what's being discussed and when it's being discussed, because we have a surefire way and a fail-safe way to notify folks that, guess what? In 5 days, here's the agenda, here's the topics, we hope you'll join us. And of course, thankfully, because of our stewardship of resources, we're able to provide videotaping of all those meetings, which is exciting, or at least the majority of those meetings, and then folks can also participate in that regard.
That is all the time we have for Officially Speaking. I'd like to thank Mayor Burns for his time and insight into the City Council.
Thank you, Kevin. It's always a pleasure.
We also thank you for watching. We hope to tune in again next month to get the latest with your city government.